And welcome, folks, to Champions for Life. I'm your host, Ken Wilson. Welcome to the broadcast today. I want to shout out to KKVV, 1060 AM Las Vegas, who is simulcasting this broadcast. And we love the folks over at KKVV, the Light of Las Vegas. Wonderful staff, wonderful organization, and just delighted to be in the studio with you today. We were actually hoping to have two special guests today. Unfortunately, the weather snowed them in North Carolina, my dear friends Tim and Terry Palmquist. But Lord willing, in the very near future, hopefully the upcoming show next week, we will have Tim and Terry on the broadcast. I think we may have to Zoom them in from Bakersfield, where they have their own crisis pregnancy center out there. And we just love them. Very instrumental in my life and just instrumental in the life movement for sure. And they were at the March for Life just a few days ago, and actually 6 days ago now, and on January 23rd in Washington, D.C., which was an amazing event. But before we get to any of that in the news for the day, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsors. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge one of the great sponsors that make this portion of the broadcast possible, and that's RTS Printing. Listen, for all your printing needs, doesn't matter whether it's color copies, black and white copies, resumes, business cards. Look, even if you'd like your business logo on your coffee cups or your hat or your umbrella, listen, if you'd like banners or signs for your business, listen, RTS Printing can do it all. Give Angelo a call. His number is 702-489-4859 and mention Champions for Life to make sure that you get your discount. And welcome back, folks. Welcome to Champions for Life. Just so delighted to be in the studio with you today. Got Max back there pushing all the buttons, making sure that it happens, and the host of your show looks pretty good. But for those of you who are, how often there's a joke. I have what they call a radio face, which is good if you're hearing this on radio. However, we're not doing podcasts. So unfortunately, or fortunately, you get to see the actual broadcast, and which is available, by the way, on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and on Spotify, and soon to be possibly TikTok. I'm not really. This is a producer. Is TikTok in the future as well? That's going to happen. And so just amazing things as we make our presence known on social media, advancing the cause for life. And just, I never thought I would bring myself to say this, but you need to like and share. for those who are viewing the podcast, like and share, and it will be helpful. It will absolutely be helpful. And we're just so grateful for the format. For those of you who do not know what this show is about, First Choice Pregnancy Services is what Focus on the Family calls the premier crisis pregnancy center in the nation. And it's located right here in Las Vegas. Well, they started off with a little radio show on KKVV, and now that has blossomed into an hour broadcast. And now we've launched our own podcast, which we've been doing now a few months, and it's been awesome. I've been invited to come on and see if I can help support the program and the broadcast, and it's blossoming. And I just want to say thank you for the privilege. But it's important not because I'm doing the show, but because this amplifies the ministry of First Choice Pregnancy Services. For example, someone might actually be listening right now who is facing a troubled pregnancy, right? And what do? A lot of times when you're pregnant and you have no answers, you don't know who to turn to. And that's where First Choice steps in. They step in with counseling. They step in with free pregnancy tests. They step in with a free sonogram. All visits are free. All resources are free. All care is free. And what a beautiful ministry to have to women who are facing a very difficult situation in life. And sadly, many of them are even abortion-minded, right? And so First Choice exists to give women a better alternative than abortion, an answer to their despair, right? A promise of a beautiful life with child and all the help that they could possibly need, from material needs all the way down to organizations that provide housing. I mean, just everything. And that's why I love First Choice. That's why I'm doing the show. And that's why we have this broadcast. So perhaps you're listening to the broadcast today and you say, well, you know what? That's me. Or actually, maybe I know a friend that really is in a troubled situation, doesn't have any answers. Maybe she's thinking about abortion, right? Maybe a lot of people are pressuring her to have the abortion, or maybe even take the abortion pill, right? Give First Choice a call. Write this number down. The number is 702-294-CARE. It's right there at the bottom of your screen for those who are watching on YouTube, 294-2273. And say, you know what? I'd like to schedule an appointment at your clinic. And we'll find out if you're pregnant, give you a free pregnancy test. If you are pregnant, we'll take a look, see, what your pregnancy looks like, the little child inside, and see how they're doing, making sure that everything is tip-top shape. We have doctors and nurses on staff that are they're gonna care for you and love you right here at First Choice. Beautiful place, right in the heart of the city, 860 East Sahara. And they're going to meet all of your needs. And just to tell you how busy they are, this past week from January 21st to the 27th, they did 41 ultrasounds and 60 pregnancy tests, all free of charge. And, they are busy every single day. And I believe we have a graphic, do we not, on the stats from last year? Just for December of last year, they did, First Choice has done 247 pregnancy tests, 220 of which were positive. Now, this is just in 1 month, folks. Almost 250 pregnancy tests. They did 142 ultrasounds, free of charge. And there was, of the clients that came in, 170 of them desperately needed the services, and a number of them were abortion-minded. Of the 170 that they saw just last month, and 138 of those, the vast majority of those, decided to keep their baby. Isn't that amazing? Talk about the work that First Choice is doing. That was just last month, and there was 172 of those young ladies that were presented with the gospel, right? That Jesus loves them, has an answer, and that we are ambassadors for them here at First Choice as we try to provide all the needs and medical tests and everything that they need to have a healthy baby. Now, that was just in December. For the entire year of 2025, now get this. Now this is unbelievable what First Choice is doing. They conducted, we have conducted over 2,658 pregnancy tests. 2,658, right? Of which 2,290 were positive. And 1,529 ultrasounds. Amazing. 1,500 ultrasounds, free of charge, right? It's 1,500, and some of those, were twins. We even had triplets. I mean, it's just amazing. And of the clients that were either we consider abortion vulnerable or even abortion minded, in other words, some women that are contemplating abortion to one degree or another, of those, right, there were 1,790, almost 1,800 women came to First Choice and was really considering abortion as a potential outcome. And but of those, almost 1,490 chose life last year. 1,004. There's over 1,490 children that are alive that celebrated birthdays today last year because First Choice is open and serving. Isn't that amazing? And over 2004 gospel presentations where we actually shared the gospel with these young ladies about how the Lord will intervene and has a life of blessing planned ahead for them, not only for them as a mother, but also for their child as well. and just absolutely amazing. And they have some new stats now talking about the abortion pill reversal just within the month of December and January. Just within those 2 months, there were 23 abortion pill reversals. 23. There are 23 children alive today because First Choice was able to reverse the poison of the abortion drug. You want to talk about a ministry, folks? Listen, First Choice is where you want to serve and volunteer. It's just that simple. You know, I've said it a million times, but, you know, the pastor is always telling you from the pulpit, you know, that God is compelling us to bring the gospel outside the walls of the church, right? You know, we're all called to be evangelists of some type, right? Reaching the lost, reaching into our community in whatever way. And it doesn't matter whether it's one-on-one with the gospel, which is the most important thing, or extending that reach into politics. It doesn't matter. Our influence into the culture, into the citizenry and the people and the laws of our city, state, and nation, all of them need to reflect our godly values, God's heart for our community and nation. And that's what First Choice is doing. And your pastor is correct. That's what First Choice is about. Reaching the lost, reaching the troubled, reaching the hurting, reaching the perplexed young ladies and families who don't have any answer or think that the only answer is ending the life of their child. Listen, First Choice is making that difference. You can be a volunteer. And if you would love to be a part, first of all, you want to take a tour of this clinic. It's a beautiful facility. So what you want to do is you want to give them a call and say, listen, I'd love to see you. Now, look, they're always busy here, so you have to call in advance. But call in advance, say, I'd love to take a tour of the clinic and see what they're all about. And then you can decide, which you will decide to do, is to become a volunteer after you take a tour. There's no question about that. But after you've taken the tour, then you can evaluate, you know, what aspect, you know, how can you be of assistance? Now, look, if you're a medical professional, we need you. In fact, there's going to be, there's a medical professional night coming up, which we're going to get to right now. In fact, as a matter of fact, let's pull up our calendar of events here at First Choice. Now, for those of you listening over the radio, look, I know this is a lot. You can't remember everything. So remember this, that you can log into Champions for Life podcast if you search for it on YouTube, or you can go to kkvv.com, right? If you're listening on the radio, and click on Champions for Life. That'll bring up this broadcast. It's the same exact one that is on YouTube and Rumble and Spotify and all the rest. And so, first of all, on January 31st, we're going to have a baby memorial, and there's a graphic for that, by the way. There's a baby memorial that's going to be held right here at First Choice, 860 East Sahara, and it's the 5th annual memorial to the aborted and forgotten. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be Saturday, January 23rd from 12 noon to 2 p.m. And you want to be a part. For those of you who are looking on YouTube and such, on social media, you'll be able to scan the QR code. All the information is right there. All you need to do is just show up. There's no cost. And it's just going to be a solemn time of reflection. And that actually would be a great time. By the way, if you want to take a look and see what First Choice is doing, maybe you can sneak a peek at the clinic itself, because the memorial is going to be right here at First Choice. And so it's going to be really awesome. So again, that's going to be this Saturday, January 31st, in just 2 days. And it's going to be from 12 to 2 p.m. And the 5th annual memorial to the aborted and forgotten. Please come. It'd be an awesome time to meet the director, meet some of the staff, meet some pastors in our town who will be there, who has a heart for these children and their families and moms. And so it's going to be an awesome, awesome event. Our next one that we're going to have is February 19th, our next event. That's a pro-life apologetics for pastors breakfast. Again, that's going to be February 19th. I believe we have a graphic for that as well. And it's going to be awesome. Look, if you're a pastor, we want to, first of all, we want to feed you. We want to feed you. But we also want to share the vision of what God is doing in our clinic and in our community through First Choice, and how they can be a part. Listen, it doesn't help if First Choice is the best kept secret in town. We don't want that. I mean, what good is a hospital that no one knows exists? And First Choice is here to serve, to reach into our community, to help those that are hurting, to proclaim the good news of the gospel that Jesus does love these young ladies and their families and has an answer. And so we want to introduce First Choice to your pastor. So what we can do, what we're doing is on February 19th, Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, we're going to be holding a sort of a breakfast for our pastors here in the community. And it's going to be at the Strong Tower Christian Center in Henderson. It's 1999 Whitney Mesa Drive, and no cost to attend. You got to RSVP, though, by February 15th. So like the day after Valentine's Day, it's the deadline. And the number to call, now there's a special number here. So this is the number that you want to call. It's 702-499-9517. That's Rebecca's number. She's handling this pastor's breakfast. And the training is going to cover stuff like, how to minister to women facing unplanned pregnancy, right? Also supporting post-abortive women with compassion and healing. That's part of the church's job, but what's happening now is the church is seeing more and more young ladies who have gone through the abortion process and are suffering silently. Well, that's not the healing that the Lord has promised. So we're going to be talking about that. Giving the pastors the tools to meet the needs of these young ladies and families that are suffering in their congregation. There's also going to be some basic fetal development education so that you'll get to understand exactly how a child is developing in the womb. Also going to be navigating pro-abortion narratives and how to respond to some arguments with grace and love, but with facts. And what we're planning to do as well, we're going to be mobilizing the church ahead in the 2026, if for no other reason than question 6, which is going to be taking place, in 10 months? And we're going to be voting on this, whether to make abortion legal through all 9 months and strip away parental notification and enshrine this into our Nevada Constitution. So we need to get the word out, obviously, that question 6 needs to be defeated. We want to communicate that to their pastors, and their pastors in turn then go and explain that to their congregation. No matter how it's worded in the voters in your ballot, question 6 absolutely needs to be defeated. There's no question. The loopholes that abortionists can jump through, the lack of accountability from medical examiners boards and city health organizations that are supposed to provide oversight, all of that's just going to be gone. And question 6 is quite dangerous. And on the next order of events is, of course, the March for Life. That's going to be March 28th, 2026. That's going to be 9 a.m. It's going to be at Trinity Life Center, 1000 East St. Louis Avenue in their back parking lot. And so you want to write that down. March 28th, the March for Life is one of the big fundraisers for First Choice. You want to know how we are able to provide our services free of charge? Well, it's because of events like the March for Life, where we get sponsors. Folks walk for a couple of miles. They find folks that are willing to, donate to them as they're walking, and in turn, that donation goes to help fund First Choice. And you can be a part of that. You can get more information from our website, www.fcpschampions.org, and figure out how you can be involved in the next upcoming March for Life. Do we have a graphic for that as well? I believe we do. That's our graphic. Save the date. Hope, Heart, Help, and Future. March 28th, 2026. The March for Life for First Choice. And again, that's going to be at 1000 East St. Louis Avenue. The March kicks off at 9 a.m. Registration is at 8 a.m. And we'd love to see you there. I will be there. And I'm hoping they're going to have the Deck Your Baby Stroller Out contest thing. I don't know. Max is laughing. I don't know if they're going to have it this year or not, but You know what? You know, if some guy decked his baby or gal decked their baby stroller out with, military style weaponry and such, I would try and finagle my way to come in there and be a judge and say, hey, look, I need to be, but then it really wouldn't be fair, would it? No, it wouldn't be fair, but it's going to be fun. They're going to be contests and giveaways and, events and things for the kids and family. It's going to be just a blast. It's a blast every single year. There's going to be all kinds of raffles, all kinds of free stuff being given away. So you want to be a part of that. Again, that's going to be March 28th, the March for Life right here at Trinity Life Center, 1000 East St. Louis. And on April 16th, one day after tax day, this is the important one. I was talking about this earlier. It's Called to Care, Partners in Life, a medical professional gathering. And that's going to be at First Choice at 6 p.m. This is our call to the medical professionals in our community, right? Because we need you. Our desire, our heartfelt goal is to open up another clinic just like this one in our city. We're looking at locations, and we're believing that God is going to give us the grace and the resources to open up a second clinic. And it's needed. In a city with, we're encroaching on 3 million, that's over 1.5 million women. You figure 500,000 easily of childbearing age, right? We need another clinic. There's only 2 in our town that do what we do, and we need more to help serve the women in our community. And so we're believing for that. But in order to do that, we need medical professionals. We need more doctors. We need more nurses. We need more staff. And this is our call this night, April 16th, 6 p.m., right here at First Choice, 860 East Sahara. We are addressing those medical professionals and inviting them to our clinic and asking them to join our staff as paid staff for not only this clinic, but our upcoming new clinic, Lord willing. And so that's going to be quite an event. And so if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, we need you. It's just that simple. And of course, my own organization is, oh wait, we got one more. It's the second annual Ladies' Tea. That's going to be May 7th. There's going to be, I almost crashed the last one. The Ladies' Tea, when I figured I'd just show up because you got to have, one guy in there to ruin everything because there's a bunch of women and some guy shows up. I was thinking about doing that last year, but I didn't do it, even though I was kind of somewhat invited. I might do it this year, May 7th, the second annual Ladies' Tea. Save that date. The location and time is probably going to be around noon. It's going to be a lunch deal usually. But it will be, it's TBD. We will announce to you when that's going to be, but it's coming up. That's the day, May 7th. And, the Ladies' Tea, and I could just show up, and just say hi to all the ladies, maybe me and Max will crash the whole thing. Right? What are they doing here? Don't they know this is a ladies' event? Why are they, but you never know. It would be fun. And finally, 40 Days for Life. That's coming up. 40 Days for Life. I am blessed to coordinate the Las Vegas 40 Days for Life campaign. Been doing it over 20 years. And we would love to be able to present 40 Days for congregation. Now you say, Kenny, what is 40 Days for Life? 40 Days for Life is the one here in Las Vegas is one of over 600 campaigns around the world, from Kenya to Ireland to Australia to Taiwan. I mean, they're just all over the world, and hundreds and hundreds throughout the United States. What 40 Days is 12 hours of prayer every day for 40 straight days in front of a local abortion facility, or if your town doesn't have an abortion facility, in front of their Planned Parenthood. And if they don't have either, as some communities do not, then they meet at a church. But in our case, our vigil location is at an abortion facility. All of that information can be found at 40daysforlife.com/Las Vegas. This event kicks off February 18th. And that will begin our vigil. That's a Wednesday, and our vigil starts from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 40 straight days. And you can be a part of it, you and a prayer partner and your church. And we would love to be able to present our ministry to your church. Typically what we do is we try and get a church to adopt a day during the 40 days, say like October 3rd, right? Or, whatever the date might be, in, April 2nd. And what they do is then a coordinator for that church will then begin signing up folks from that church to come and pray for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, or an hour at the abortion facility in a legal place along the sidewalk where it's legal to pray. And just pray. This is not a protest. This is very important. 40 Days for Life is absolutely not a protest. So you're not coming out with graphic images or anything like that. In fact, you don't need to come out with anything. All you need to do is just come and pray. Now, for those of you who are willing to interact with, perhaps sometimes a young lady will stop and ask, on their way to the abortion facility, what we're doing or if we have any information. Typically, we provide you with some information to give to the young lady, either, abortion, pill reversal related material or information about First Choice, letting them know that there's a clinic that can actually help them rather than at the abortion clinic that we're praying at. And so you can give that to them if you're willing, right? But the focus, again, it's not a protest. We're not there to protest. We're not there to picket, make news, anything like that. All we're there to do is pray for the young ladies and families that are going to the abortion clinic, pray that the abortion center itself closes, pray for the staff, the doctors and the nurses that administer abortion, right, that are a part of the death process in that building, praying that God will touch their heart and draw them out of that grisly business. And it's been great. It's been very successful. In fact, if you're noticing our graphic, you just scroll up just a little bit. Since we began over 20 years ago, over 26,000 lives have been saved. 184 abortion centers have closed where we've prayed. 2 of those right here in Las Vegas. Now, in both of those cases where we were praying for 40 days, those clinics went up and moved to a new location. Well, we've now followed the abortion facility to their new location. And so, but of the 184, those are permanent closures. So the 2 that closed here in Vegas, that would not be counted in that stat. 275 abortion workers quit. Just said, quit, I'm done. In fact, that happened at least more than once, but the one case that I'm remembering is, a clinic worker came out, went to one of the folks that were praying outside and said, essentially, thank you for your prayers. Today is my last day. Isn't that awesome? Right? So when you go to pray in front of these abortion facilities, look, the prayers of a righteous man or woman avails much, right? God takes those prayers, he hears them, and he moves on the hearts of folks. And that's why we're there. We're not there to be a spectacle. We're not there to, produce dissuade the press about none of that. The only reason we're there is to see God move in the hearts and minds of people. And you say, well, Kenny, why can't I do that from home? Well, you can. You can pray from home, but the model for 40 Days for Life is a visible presence. I often liken it to, when you have a sick friend in the hospital, right? They're ill. What do? Do you pray from home? Of course you do. Absolutely, right? But you also make the effort to get in your car and go to the hospital, to their bedside, and lay hands on them and pray for them right there, right? That God will do a miracle of healing right there. Right? So you actually go to them and minister to them right where they're hurting. Well, that's exactly what 40 days is about. Praying from home, absolutely. We need to pray that that God moves in our city. But the heart of 40 days is bringing our prayers directly to those abortion facilities, and that's where you can come in. So what you want to do is you want to log into 40daysforlife.com, 40daysforlife.com/Las Vegas. Go ahead and register, and when you do, you're going to see, after you've registered, you'll see all of our resources there. We have flyers and all kinds of stuff that you can download. We have a visual location map, so you'll see where you can go, where you can park, where you can stand, and where you can't stand. It also shows where the abortion facility is, right? Sort of our prayer focus. And all the information, statements of peace, we have stuff in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking folks. And all of that's available at 40daysforlife.com/Las Vegas. But you got to register first. Register, and then all that stuff is available. And then we'll see you. We'll see you out there for 40 days. And I want to thank you in advance. Whether you pray every day or you pray one day during the 40 days. And whether it's 15 minutes or not. I often tell folks, a lot of people are a lot of skittish sometimes about praying, out there. Look, there's cars passing by and I'm out there standing and praying. Look, it's not the fact that you're visible. It's the fact that you're there praying. So I tell folks, listen, even if you are unwilling or nervous about getting outside of your car, drive your car into the facility. And you don't have to get out. You can pray from your car for the abortion facility. Just prayers on site, right? And you can just stay in the safety of your car. You don't have to let anybody know that you're there, right? Our point is that we're taking the prayer to where it's needed, right? The site of the atrocity in our city, we're bringing our prayers there. We're inviting the Holy Spirit to make a difference in that location, on that day, at that moment that you're praying. Right? That's what we're about. So 40daysforlife.com. And again, we're available to speak to your church or your group or whatever it is. Again, that's coming up. We're kicking off February 18th. We're going to have a rally on February 15th, which is a Sunday at 2 p.m. at Trinity Life Center, 1000 East St. Louis. There you can get all kinds of information. We've got flyers and posters and placards and more stuff than you can possibly or want to have. If you're interested in being what we call a shepherd for your church, now that this is the person that actually coordinates people to pray from your church on a particular day or throughout the 40 days, however you want to do it. We'll have all the resources there for you available, and it's just all going to be free. And so we don't charge anybody for anything usually. There might be some small, you know what we do charge for? We have some beautiful umbrellas. Some 40 days, those kind of cost a little bit, but they have the beautiful 40 days logo on it, and we just ask to be reimbursed for the cost. I mean, it's not like we're going to make any money off of that, but it's nice because just in case that while you're out there, if a 1,000,001 chance it rains, or if you like to keep the sun off of you, if it's during the daytime, you can get one of our umbrellas. So we'll have those available, plus cups and things, all just kinds of stuff. It's going to be great. So again, that's coming up. Our kickoff rally, don't forget, mark your calendar, February 15th at 2 p.m. at Trinity Life Center, 1000 East St. Louis, the 40 Days for Life kickoff rally. And that, my goodness, it took 20 minutes to do all the, that's what's happening. Listen, the kingdom of God is busy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So one of the things that just happened the other day, of course, is the March for Life in Washington, D.C. And you would think, right, Max, you would think that this would be a great event, right? And it was. It was an unbelievable event. Over 100,000 people packed the mall in front of the Lincoln Memorial, all the way from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. There's a reflection pool there. In fact, it's the very same spot where, if you ever saw Forrest Gump, the famous scene was, between Forrest and his, what was her name? The young lady, whatever, I forget. Jenny, that's right. And this was right there. So 100,000 people. Look at. There's a picture. For those of you who are looking on YouTube, just look at the mass of people. Well over 100,000. Do you think you saw this in the news? Do you think CNN covered this? No. Look at that. There's just throngs of people, right? And it was awesome. Let's see, 100,000. So you had chilly, beautiful day in January. Tens of thousands gathered for the 53rd National March for Life. Folks came from everywhere, from Korea to Ireland to you name it. Children, grandparents, students, clergy, everybody. And the theme of this year's event was Life is a Gift. And the event began with an hour of worship music, followed by powerful speeches on faith and sanctity of life from conception, America's founding principles, and it was just awesome. It was support for folks that, like Charlie Kirk, who frequently advocated faith and family and was just a great model citizen. And the fun opening was a group called the Friends of Club 21 Choir. And this was a group of young adults with Down syndrome, right, that sang the national anthem. Now, how cool is that? And so I looked for a video. I didn't see one video. That had to be awesome. And then there was a video message from President Donald Trump highlighting the administration's efforts to advance pro-life policies. And one of the speakers was Vice President J.D. Vance, and addressing the crowd, affirming the movement's, ally in the White House, and urging continued progress in the post-Dobbs era. And a number of congressmen were there, a dozen congressmen. Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican out of Louisiana, which is my home state, by the way, Louisiana. And Representative Chris Smith, and Representative Andy Harris, Michael Cloud, Andy Clyde, Robert Anderholt, Dan Crenshaw. I mean, just a bunch of congressmen out there standing for life out there in D.C. And it was awesome. I would have loved to have been there. I was not. But Gwen Andrews, who's the Senate aide for Senator Randy Robertson, Republican out of Georgia, shared her testimony. She said, I grew up as a pastor's daughter, and I would have always told you that I was pro-life, but honestly, I really didn't care. That was her testimony. I really didn't care as I was growing up. At 19, she was facing an unexpected pregnancy, and she scheduled a chemical abortion at Planned Parenthood. And 3 days before, a girl explained the beauty of life from conception, and that she would always be a mother, right? No matter, even if she ended the life of her child, she'd just be the mother of a dead child. And ultimately, Gwen Andrews, who was speaking at this event, chose life. Her daughter was adopted by a Christian couple, and she said the best way to make a change is to have one conversation at a time. Abortion begins as a cultural issue, so we have to change the culture. Amen. That's just what I was talking about. And there was Noel, who was another one of the participants there, said the idea that a mother can destroy her own child is heartbreaking. And we need to start with education, and it has to start in the home. Teaching children and families that life begins at conception, that life is sacred and valuable and beautiful, and that God can turn even terrible situations for good. Amen. And she said, I love attending the march. I've been a supporter for a long time, and I've been lucky to be able to come back multiple times. And I know that if we keep putting God at the center of our lives, immense progress can be made. My message for you at home is to get involved. Every year, every day is an opportunity to do something. And Representative Andrew Clyde, who's Republican out of Georgia, said that if you look at the birth certificate of our nation, the Declaration of Independence, says that all men are created equal and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and the first that is mentioned is life. And he stressed the government's duty is to secure and defend life, noting how the Dobbs decision was a major reversal of federal outreach. And he said, finally, government is here under the Trump administration defending life, and that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? And Representative Clyde highlighted the ongoing challenges, including the shipment of mifepristone abortion pills across state lines. He said one of the bigger challenges is the fact that mifepristone, also used to be known as RE46, is being shipped across our country through the post office. And it's illegal to do that in the state of Georgia, which is his state. And he said he referenced the D.C. Shield Law Repeal Act introduced in December, with growing co-sponsors aimed at dismantling D.C.'s protection for such shipments. And he said, if we can do that, then we can put these people who are sending poison into our states in jail. Because that's what's happening. States like Georgia, Texas, they're passing pro-life laws, but Planned Parenthood is surreptitiously circumventing state law by flooding these states with poison, these abortion drugs, RE46, mifepristone, right? So it's circumventing the law. You have a pro-life state, doesn't matter. There's more abortions now in your pro-life state because there's abortion pills everywhere. And so he's trying to get a law passed that would stop this. Said Representative Michael Cloud, who's Republican out of Texas. He also affirmed the government's primary role in protecting God-given rights, starting with life. He said, our job in government is to protect those inalienable rights that we understand are a gift from God. They're not a grant from government. You can't have liberty without life. You can't pursue happiness without life. And he celebrated post-Roe progress, but warned of persistent threats like the abortion pills, which harm both babies and moms. In fact, we'll talk about that in a second, but said Representative Cloud called for restoring the culture where babies are a blessing and healthy families remain society's foundation. And but the abortion pill is very, it's a dangerous drug. First of all, it kills, the baby's dead, right, in the womb. The baby actually dies inside the mom. How tragic. But the problem for women is that this abortion drug is unsupervised. It's given without doctor's supervision. You take it at home. No one's watching you. If you have an ectopic pregnancy, in other words, where the child is developing in the fallopian tube, guess where you're going if you take the abortion drug? You are likely going to the emergency room. You're playing not only with, you're playing with your life. You're ending the life of your child, obviously, with the abortion drugs, but you're playing with your own life as well. And furthermore, there's all kinds of risks from this abortion drug, including sepsis and uncontrolled hemorrhaging. 11 out of every 100 women who take this drug don't just have to go to the hospital. They have to go to the emergency room. 11 out of 100. This is a crime. This is an absolute crime. Plus, if the drug is successful, you deliver a dead child at home, a dead baby. How traumatic is that? You miss no supervision. There's no doctor there. There's no one. There's no phone to pick up. Look, if you are contemplating taking this dangerous abortion drug, it is dangerous because it will kill your child. I mean, it's just poison. I urge you, before you do this, I'm begging you, give First Choice a call. Talk to the professionals here. Talk to the doctors and staff that are here for you. There's no charge. Find out more information about this very deadly drug before you take it. Yes, it's possible that we can reverse the effects through our reversal protocol, our abortion pill reversal protocol, but don't count on that. Before you take this drug, before you take any drug, talk to a doctor. Talk to our folks here, our medical professionals right here at First Choice. Here's our number, 294-CARE. That's 294-2273, area code 702. So, highlighting again the march, pro-life advocate by the name of Ryan Baumberger, who's the founder of the Radiance Foundation, brought a powerful personal testimony rooted in his own life story. He says, I'm here with my sons, and I want them to understand that it's okay to be pro-life. We live in a culture that tries to shame guys into silence about the evil injustice of abortion. And Baumberger, who was conceived in rape, right? His mom was raped, and that's how he was brought to this world. He was adopted, loved into a large family of 15 siblings, 10 of whom were adopted. And he fights for the marginalized because, quote, that was once me. And now he's a father of 4, including 2 adopted children, and husband to a wife who chose life as a single mom. And that daughter named Radiance. And that's how he got the Radiance Foundation. And he went and adopted Radiance. And so he's fighting. It's a fight for everybody, he urged. And he encouraged practical involvement. He said, join your local pregnancy center. That's us, by the way, First Choice. Volunteer for them, support them, get your church into the fight. Baumberger expressed optimism for the 2026 and beyond. He says, I'm full of hope. Why? Because Jesus is our hope. Amen. I don't know this guy, but I would love this guy. He said, without Jesus as that foundation, it's going to be really hard to have the victories. fact, it will be. It'd be almost impossible. He said, even one life saved is a massive win, but the goal is a society-wide change through faith-centered action. I want to take a moment to acknowledge one of the great sponsors that make this portion of the broadcast possible, and that's Dr. Ray Kelly of Kelly Chiropractic. Treats injuries from falls, accidents, motor vehicle crashes, work-related incidents. For those of you who are suffering from allergies, he also has a procedure called acutherapy, going to treat your allergies and ease some of that discomfort. Accepts most forms of insurance. Been in the business over 33 years here in Las Vegas. Give him a call. Set up your appointment. The number is 702-870-9200. We have to get involved, folks. Look, question 6 is coming. Whether you like it or not, the enemy continues to press. Right now, I'm talking about another thing, but I'm running out of time. Right now, our state law in the state of Nevada is abortion is legal for any reason or for no reason at all, up to and including 6 months. 6 months, folks. That baby is already kicking and it's live and well in the womb. It's legal to end that child's life. At 6 months, right now, today, in Las Vegas. 6 months. If question 6 passes, we're going to extend not to 7 months, not to 8 months, 9 months. To the moment of birth, you can end the life of this child. Is that not infanticide, folks? It's already infanticide as far as I'm concerned. But up until birth, that will be written, engraved in stone into our Constitution, unless you, the listener, right now gets involved and defeats question 6, which will be on your ballot. That's going to be mailed to you in November of this year. Have you heard a word from your pastor? We have 10 months, folks. 10 months to defeat this devastating constitutional amendment to our Constitution here in the state of Nevada. And you can do something about it by getting to your pastor and say, hey, look, what about this question 6? And it's worse than that. I mean, as bad as that is, we have fought for parental notification. So if your 15, 14, 13-year-old gets pregnant and she goes to have the abortion somewhere, some guy who gets her pregnant whisks her away to an abortion facility, the doctor right now is required to call you, Dad, is required by law to call you, Mom, and let you know that your daughter is scheduled for abortion surgery. Can't do anything about it, but at least you'll know that surgery is about to be performed on your daughter. That's the law right now. If question 6 passes, that's gone. You can forget, Dad, about ever finding out that your 12-year-old daughter, who was raped by some guy, who's now being whisked away to an abortion facility somewhere secretly. You'll never know. You'll never know unless your daughter decides to tell you, or God forbid, something tragic happens and they have to now take your daughter from that abortion clinic to an actual hospital. If question 6 passes, parental notification is gone. And it gets worse than that. All the oversight into abortion clinics for medication and staff and health violations, all that is gone. All the oversight is gone from that, just stricken away by the stroke of a pen, by your vote, if you do nothing, right? It's just gone. There will no longer be an avenue to reproach these dirty abortion facilities if they fall into some kind of supposed health violation. Gone. And it even gets worse than that. Currently, state law requires that a doctor, an abortionist, a licensed physician performs the abortion. If question 6 passes, that is gone. The only thing that will be required is a healthcare professional. I want you to understand this. Not only will you not know that your 12, 13-year-old daughter is either having abortion surgery or is about to be given the abortion drug, not only will you not know, but it'll be performed by someone who's not even a doctor if question 6 passes. Now, perhaps you're thinking that Ken made all this up. You can go to the Secretary of State website here for the state of Nevada and pull up question 6 and read it for yourself. It's there available. The way it will be worded when it comes to your door for you to vote on it in November. Have you heard a word from your pastor about this? I urge you, folks, please allow us to come and explain this to your congregation, how devastating. And look, once it's in our Constitution, there's no law that can remove it. The Constitution is the law for the state of Nevada. And it'll take 2 election cycles to remove it once it has been voted in. And it was already voted, it was already approved the last election cycle. If it gets voted on this time and is approved again, it becomes part of our Constitution. Yes, it will be challenged. Absolutely, it's going to be challenged. But how many will have to pass away because this law has passed? Not law, this amendment has passed. And you can do something about it. I urge you, if you have not heard anything from your pastor, then you need to be knocking on your pastor's door and say, listen, there's something that's coming down on the ballot question. This is devastating to the people of Nevada. And furthermore, if this passes, I'll tell you something. Governor Pritzker, who is the sitting governor of Illinois, he came to our state to initiate this amendment over 2 years ago. He came to our state. The sitting governor, Pritzker of Illinois, came to Nevada, came to Las Vegas, came to the College of Southern Nevada, and held a rally along with Planned Parenthood and the National Abortion Rights Action League. And they got this on the ballot. I want you to understand, a sitting governor from another state came to our state and is changing our Constitution. And they've been successful. It's already passed last election cycle. And it doesn't matter how pro-life you think your governor is, or how much common sense you think you have. But when you have another politician infiltrating your state to change the laws of your state, not only our laws, our Constitution, then you know there's a serious, serious problem. And we're facing it. We're facing it, folks. And this one's going to take a lot of prayer. It's going to take a lot of money to defeat. We're going to need advertisements. We're going to need money for ad campaigns. But we need to be in every single church. If every Christian church, every Bible-believing Christian church had required their congregation to vote against question 6, it wouldn't have passed the first time. It wouldn't have passed. But as long as our leaders and our pastors remain silent, amendments and laws like this will continue to pass. And our culture will go from depravity to more depravity to insanity. And that's where we've left depravity and we're encroaching upon insanity here in the state of Nevada. And I want you to know something else. Governor Pritzker came to our state to do this for a reason, right? And the reason is so that more human trafficking can occur. More human trafficking, making Las Vegas and the state of Nevada the abortion capital of the United States. And that's what will happen. Already, Governor Pritzker was lauding the organizations that pay for women who are seeking abortion in Las Vegas. They're already paying for their plane flights. They're paying for their food. They're paying for their abortion. They're even paying for the daycare of the women who come with children for the abortion. They're paying for everything. That's already happening. How much worse do you think it will be when this becomes law without any type of regulation, without any kind of oversight, right? More of a human trafficking problem. Do you want to live in a city that is known as the abortion capital of the United States? I hope not, folks. I hope not. Our job is to reach our city and our state with the good news, the gospel of love and compassion for those that are seeking help and justice in a time of crisis. And if question 6 passes, it's going to be far, far harder to reach those who are being shipped to Las Vegas to have secret abortions by horrible people. And you can do something about it. Now you say, Kenny, what do I do? Here's what you do. Give First Choice a call and say, look, I need more information about Amendment 6. Our number is 702-294-CARE. That's 702-294-2273. And you know what? Invite us to your church. Not only will we tell you about our wonderful clinic and what we're doing, but we will warn you about the dangers if question 6 passes. And you can stop it, folks. We can stop this. But it's going to take a massive effort by the people of our state. We have to stand up, folks. If we don't stand up for life, death will rule for the children of our city and state and for children that are coming from other states that are pro-life into our state. And so we need to have an answer, folks. So listen, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. If you have a question about anything you've heard today, give us a call. Our number is 702-294-CARE. And remember, you can be a champion for life.